Hello, everyone. We're getting situated here.
We're back.
Getting them all fired up. And YouTube, we got somebody watching us on YouTube. You got whoever's on YouTube, you get to see the behind the scenes, us getting warmed up in our amateur phase right now. Here, there's
Amy's on.
Your beautiful wife is on there. So I think we're ready to. We'll give it about another minute because we started a bit early.
Yeah.
And we'll get everybody on here. Now, this is a new venture here is going on YouTube. So, well, we lost them. I don't know
Yeah,
how
but
that
we
works.
we did it last week.
Yeah. So we're really trying to work in this, trying to get our background set, trying to get all this other information in order so that we can get it right. We can get it right, and more people can get involved.
Right. And as we talk today, what I want to do is throw out something that you didn't expect. Right.
Come on.
So Norbert asked me about I don't know 5 weeks ago.
Okay.
You asked me 5 weeks ago. You said, well, you made a statement, but then you asked, hey, we need a name.
Yes.
So
yes.
I have not come up with one. I don't think
I
you've
haven't.
come up with
Nope,
one.
I haven't.
So, since it's been 7 weeks since you talked about it, during the course of this show, we're going to ask the audience to come up with a name.
Come on.
And see if somebody can come up with a name for us.
Yep.
You know, I use the name Dr. D. We got Pastor Norbert. So if someone can come up with a phrase, a title for us,
Yeah.
let's go for it.
We need something.
And since we've just been on for a minute here, I say we every so often mention it, that we're looking for a name for our show.
Yeah, we can do
And
we can do that.
we'd love to take all suggestions.
Yeah.
So
We can do that. We can do that. All right, let's get started.
Right.
Let's get started. Let's review last week.
last week was our second segment on self-worth. And we talked a lot about the internal value that we have to have for ourselves.
Yeah.
And that not depending on other people for our intrinsic value, but understand that we're good, that we're valuable, that we are important, and that we are lovable. And we don't want us to rely on people telling us that, because like the first segment, we talked about what if everything that we had, our possessions, our money, our family, if all those things were gone, what would we be left with?
Yep.
And the answer was us.
That's it.
And so we have to be happy with us and value ourselves, because it can become very difficult when you lose a lot of things, whether it's family or prized possessions, because we put a lot of stock in those things over the course of our lives. We buy things. We have our children that are in our life. For those of us who are fortunate to have children, that we value those things, and those things move on.
Yeah.
You know, our children grow up.
Yep.
I've got one in college who is soaring. She just finished her third year. Wow! Third year?
30 years.
She's finished her third year at University of Michigan. And then we also have a junior in high school like you.
Yeah.
And she's going to be, at least right now, on the path of leaving the nest.
Yeah. So
soon.
already looking at schools.
Right. Oh, hey, the way I see it, what are we? This is April. Wow. 5 plus 12, 17 months?
17 months.
17 months. She's probably going to be on a college campus somewhere.
Wow.
And based on the way Stacy talks, we have no idea where she's going to end up. So listen, when we leave, I want to feel important about myself.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
But yeah, so that's what we talked about, self-worth. And this week's topic, a little different, and that is working smarter, not harder. And if we had to tie in from last week, our time is important to us.
Yeah.
There's one thing that I know about time. You don't get it back.
Nope.
You know,
And we all have the same amount.
we all have the same amount,
Yep.
right? 60 seconds in a minute,
Yep.
60 minutes in an hour, 168 hours in a week.
Yeah.
Beyond that, I didn't calculate anything else. But,
Yeah.
you know, time is important.
Yeah.
And it's about, what, 2 times in a given calendar year that we either fall back in time in the fall or
Yep.
go forward. But you know,
Yep.
other than that, time is going to go. And it's really important that we cherish our time. And even though this is not all specific about time, this particular topic, but working smarter, we'll talk about how time is important.
Absolutely.
Working smarter, not harder. What do you think?
I think, you know, what's so important to keep in mind is we have this tendency to believe that if we can just cram a little bit more into that minute, into that hour,
Right.
it's going to reap some huge rewards.
Man, that's important. We're going to talk about that.
And that doesn't work that way.
Doesn't work.
And working smarter is just that, is being able to, and we've got some good information coming out here. So I want you just to take a breather, grab a cup of tea, because you can't have coffee because it's too late. Grab a cup of tea, non-caffeinated, uncaffeinated, decaf, whatever
Right.
you call it. Grab some water and sit back, because right now we want to be able to frame your minute, your hour, your day, so you can squeeze out the maximum
That's right.
from that day. Can you grab the maximum? Because what you're doing right now, I got this book, Doc, and I'm just going to put it out there wherever it is.
Go for it.
Atomic Habits.
Who's the author?
James Clear.
James Clear.
It's on, I think it's Forbes or another magazine's top 10 business or books to read in a year. But one point he makes is that if you can make a 1% change every day, it will compound.
Oh.
And
okay.
in this story, in the book, he talks about the British cycling team. They got a new coach. They were terrible.
Okay.
And so what he did was he broke down every aspect of cycling and made a goal of a 1% change every day. From the seats they sat on to the clothes they wore, until years later they were winning Tour de France's and gold medals and all that. I want us to learn to maximize each moment.
And this is just only a small segment, so
Right.
we only have 45 minutes. What's the name of the book again? Because someone said they didn't see it. Atomic Habits.
Atomic Habits
Phrase that, baby.
by James Clear.
Oh, you know what? I think the
There it
shining
is
on
on the side.
Atomic Habits by James Clear. Right?
Great book.
Awesome.
Great book. I'll put it in the description. We'll put it in the description. Hey, honey, Rachel, if you're watching, throw that in the comments in the section. Atomic Habits, James Clear. I appreciate that. But go on, my friend.
So
Go
what
on.
I'd like for you to do is really pay attention because, I'm not sure why I said that. I mean, you're watching, so you are paying attention.
That's happening.
You know, if you want, please take some notes because there are a lot of things that that may be able to use tonight in planning for tomorrow.
Yep.
So this topic is motivated because twice last week I was at work and I asked a couple of colleagues just in passing, "Hey, how you doing?" And we were talking about, "Yeah, I'm busy." They were busy, and 2 people said to me, "Hey, I'm trying to work smarter, not harder." Harder, right? Somebody said it Friday, and then someone said it on Saturday.
Right.
I said, you know what? I'm gonna go with that topic.
Yeah.
Working smarter, not harder. So here's what I want you to do. To begin the process, let's think about tomorrow. And I'm sure in your mind there's a lot of things that you have planned. You got a lot of things planned for tomorrow. I have several things I have to do tomorrow. And so one thing we want to do first is plan the night before.
Yep.
Is to start the night before, list the task you want to complete. So you can list 10 of them, what have you. And I got to say, for me, this is really important because it has a lot to do with how my brain functions and probably how the brains of other people, how they function as well. So I want you to do is to write down a list of tasks that you're going to do. Write on paper, put it in your cell phone, wherever you need to put it.
Yep.
And what this does, it will increase your ability to rest.
Yeah.
Because now you remove it from your conscious mind to a piece of paper because our brain, this magical, wonderful brain of ours, will keep you focused on something that you have to do tomorrow that's really important.
Yep.
And you'll find yourself waking up in the middle of the night thinking about that particular activity.
Right.
As if the brain is functioning as if you're going to forget, and it's not going to lie you, so it's going to keep reminding you of some of the most important elements of that task that you're going to do.
Guilty
right?
of that. I'm so guilty.
Right? So then what you have to do is not only write down the list, but the most important aspects of that task so that you can get it on paper so you won't forget. You can go to sleep and you can rest and be ready for the next day.
Yeah.
So the brain has a way of keeping going if you're not careful. Write it down, remove it from your brain, put it on paper, and you wake up the next day. It's going to be there right for you.
Yep.
What does rest equal the next day? More energy.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about, we're going to talk about several laws. One of them is called Parkinson's Law. Parkinson's Law. And Parkinson's Law is the law of where our tasks that you're going to do, tasks that I do, will expand to the time that you have allotted for it.
Do that again.
So it's the task will expand to the time that you have allotted for it.
Yep.
For example, if you say, I did this past weekend with a particular activity. If you say, hey, I have all day to cut the grass, guess what?
Yeah.
If you say, I got all day to cut the grass,
now I got it.
Then guess what? Then it's going to take all day for you to cut the grass. Because you're going to what? You're going to wait till 12 o'clock and you're going to say, I got to, I'll do it in a couple hours. I got all day for this.
That's right.
3 o'clock comes around. Oh, wait a minute. We're in springtime. I got to at least 6 or 7 to do this. Right? Now you get to the end of the day and you get out there and you cut it.
Yeah.
You have what we talked about. What's the favorite word is? Procrastination. You've procrastinated all day because you've allowed yourself all day to do it.
Yeah.
And if it's an important task, if you don't, square out a segment, take out a segment of time, that task will take all day long. So a strategy to deal with that, set a segment of time and a deadline.
Yeah.
Right? So what I did this weekend is I found out that it was going to, well, at least I thought, according to the weather forecast, we were supposed to get 1 inch of snow sitting on our grass Sunday morning,
that was
right?
I
told Amy's my wife, for those who you don't know, I told Amy, I got to cut the grass today, and because of the expected snow. And I said, well, I better do it, by 7 o'clock. Well, guess what? Guess what time I started cutting the grass? 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
But we were busy.
Yeah.
But not because I was working. So the nice thing, I said, well, I will do it at 7 because I had worked up till 5.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I had set up a specific set of time to cut the grass. I knew it was going to take me about 1 hour and 20 minutes. So at 7 o'clock, I got out there and I started hammering the grass. Now, other things were about to pop up, in terms of maybe I hope it don't snow, but I had to get it done.
Yep.
So at 7 o'clock, boom, did it. So if you have something that you really need to do, set a set of time because the allotted time you allow for it will be the allotted time it will take.
What's important? Discovering what is important so that you can make that time for what is important. Because you can schedule several small tasks
That's right.
that are meaningless. Not meaningless.
No, that's okay. Say that word. I want you to use that word.
They're meaningless
Right.
in the larger picture of life. I find myself, I procrastinate. I confess. Right hand, whichever hand. I confess. I procrastinate. And I put things in place to avoid it and stop it and all that kind of stuff. But what I find myself doing when I attempt to break that procrastination mode is I'll do a bunch of small, meaningless things that don't get me anywhere.
That's right.
And then at the end of the day, I really try to ask every day, at the end of each day, what did I accomplish today?
Okay.
What did I accomplish today?
We are going to come back to that topic.
We're going to work that.
Because it's important what you just said about meaningless tasks or tasks that seems to be minuscule compared to some other things that you let go.
That's right.
Because you waited and you said, you know what, I'm going to feel a little good about myself. I'm going to do these smaller things.
Come on.
Right? So we're going to talk about that.
You know what? Can I throw a car analogy in? Because
go for it.
You can leave your car running in the driveway
Okay.
all afternoon.
Okay.
And the gas gauge will move as if you drove it somewhere.
Okay.
And that's what we find ourselves doing is, man, I'm tired today.
Man, I like that analogy.
You know, I'm a little worn out today.
I like that. I like that example.
I just did a bunch of small little things. I'm tired, Doc.
But the car didn't go nowhere.
Car won't go nowhere. We didn't do a thing.
Okay.
I feel a little wore out today.
Okay.
And by feeling wore out, we think we accomplished something.
Okay.
Come on, you go ahead. You go
All
ahead.
right. The next law is called Laborit's Law. It's spelled Laborits. Laborit's Law. And what that law is that we should perform difficult tasks first to begin our day.
That's good.
Right? And
That's
one of the
good.
reasons we want to do that, or you want to do that, as well as me, is because our brain is fresher earlier in the day.
Yep.
So perform the more difficult
Yes.
tasks early on or at the beginning of your day. And because everybody doesn't work in the morning.
No.
People work in the afternoon shifts and things of that nature. It's to take those difficult tasks first and jump on those first because our brain is ready to take those things, especially if you planned the night before and you got rest. So there's another concept that's associated with that happens throughout the day.
Your wife said, or after coffee.
Or after coffee. Well,
That's good, Amy. That's
hey,
good.
if you say so, but we won't get into that coffee thing because people will drink coffee and they got to drink more, but we're not going to go into that. But thanks, Amy. We appreciate it. Another concept that's associated with Laborit's Law is decision fatigue. Decision fatigue. And it's the amount of information and the decisions that we make, they diminish throughout the day.
Yeah.
So if you're going to save a task for later in the day,
Yep.
and it's a big, difficult task, hey, you may not be ready for it. And sometimes, depending on where we are in life, we can condition our brain to function a certain way. Because there were times when I was younger, as a college student, that I didn't get going until at night.
Right.
So this is not for everybody. But for those of us that are in the working world and have a career,
Yeah.
and you have a task and you have deadlines, it's important to jump on those difficult tasks early in the day.
I like what you said about the decisions. I've read it several places, and it addresses this in this book, Atomic Habits, is that we have the capacity for only so many decisions in a day.
Okay.
And so I've read this somewhere else. One of the examples they used was the Facebook CEO, Mark Zuckerberg. For years, he had that patented hoodie on, jeans and hoodie. And,
Okay.
And so most successful people will eat the same thing every day for breakfast. Automate. And the whole point of what I'm working towards is automate everything you do, as many things as you can do,
That's
so that
powerful.
you're spending less time deciding. So when you wake up in the morning and you look in your closet, instead of having to decide on what you need to wear, you have a uniform. So Mark Zuckerberg, for example, would wear that hoodie. You always saw him with that hoodie. Most successful people will wear a similar colored suit or an outfit. And for those unsuccessful folks around us, and including us sometimes, is that we're so worried about what we're wearing, we spend a lot of energy on the things that aren't that important.
Don't matter. It really don't matter.
Breakfast. Make the list. Prepare it ahead of time. Tomorrow I'm going to have eggs and bacon. Here's the eggs and there's the bacon. I just got to whip it together. If you're not that prepared, have the same thing over and over.
That's right. Well, let me tell you something about that. Since this January, 90% of my breakfast has been one of two things: oatmeal
Yep.
with berries and nuts, or yogurt with berries and nuts. Since January,
Yep.
I have not. Maybe 2 or 3 times I stopped by a restaurant and picked up something right quick, but I'm gonna tell you, the restaurants. I'm sorry, a local grocery chain sent me coupons, and it says something like "tailored just for you." Guess what those items were? Coupons were
Oatmeal berries.
Oatmeal, strawberries,
Yeah.
Blueberries, blackberries, and nuts. And those were my coupons. I told Amy, I said, they must know how I shop. And this is perfect. So I went to them and I started buying because I'm still buying those things.
Yep.
Right? I got to replenish on strawberries now. I only got one carton left. But speaking to that automation, to be honest with you, there's no thinking in terms of what I'm going to do for breakfast.
No. I wake up, first thing I do is I hit the coffee. I know the power button. I know where the little cup is. Bam, you hit it. There's no thinking. What drove me crazy was when we had the regular pot and you had to pour the 2 or 3 scoops in and you had to count and all that. That became a bit frustrating.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
So you have the single cup and you have the automatic. The less time you spend on having to make decisions, the more time you have for the larger things. Because I don't know about you, but what I find myself doing a lot of times is that if I want to avoid a big thing, I'll spend time with the little things early in the morning and expend my energy again.
Right. Well, I'm going to tell you, one of the things that was challenging for my wife and I when we were younger in our marriage and have children, I remember her saying on a number of occasions, I don't know what we're going to have for dinner. And it sounded like it was taxing for her to make that decision, to prepare a certain meal every day, day in, day out.
Yeah.
I just thought about that, like, wow, okay, now I really understand what she was saying. Was back then, 15 years ago, I was like, what's the big deal? Just make dinner.
Right.
But now I get it. It required more thought, more energy energy of thought to plan a meal, because she makes wonderful meals, but they took a lot of time just in terms of her mental effort to think of what they're going to do. So this really makes a lot of sense. And I just read about Mark Zuckerberg and how he wore one outfit for a long period of time.
Music. I've read several authors. Well, do you have a favorite song? Do you have a favorite tune? Or do you go through a season where there's a certain song that comes on the radio and you just like it? You just like it over and over and over. I have discovered that several authors will play the same song over and over and over because it inspires them. They don't try a playlist.
Wow.
I read this about Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins wrote that 800-page book, and he said he did it with one song.
Wow.
He would play. So if you feel guilty sometimes, I'm a person of habit. Okay. I don't see a lot of movies, and I like a few movies, and I'll watch them over and over. There's a few songs.
I don't know how you do that.
I watch them over and over and over. And then songs, if I'm inspired by something, I'll hit play and replay.
I like that.
I'll loop it until I wear it out, but it'll inspire me to do whatever I'm doing. Automate.
I did that with music, with working out.
Yeah?
I did it with music and working out. I had about 10, 12 songs that I listened to working out for probably about 6, 7 months, and I did that about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Every run, every workout, so I get the automatic.
It saves that.
That's right.
So what can you do what can you automate right now in your life so that you free your mind to think of other things? That you can spend your time on important things.
Okay, let's talk about the 80-20 rule.
Yes, I love
and that's going to go back to you talking about doing things that aren't meaningful, and the example you use of the car and idling all day and running out of gas, but accomplishing nothing. It's called the 80-20 rule, and it's based on the premise that we should prioritize our productivity on 20% of the things that we have to do. So if you have a list and it has 10 things on it, 10 particular tasks that you want to accomplish in the next couple of days or in the next day, you should then take 2 of them that you find most important and prioritize and put your effort toward those 2 that are most important. It's called the 80-20 rule. And once I found it, I kept finding it everywhere. I said, wow, this must be really important. Then I thought, okay, yeah, this does make sense, because in any given day, any given job, when you're working with a bunch of people, there are going to be unexpected events that happen. So if you think you've got this list and you can only accomplish 2 things because something unexpected might happen, what 2 things are most important for you to accomplish on that list?
That's right.
And that will get you to prioritize, and the research shows that it will increase your productivity anywhere from 25 to 50%.
Yeah.
Just by prioritizing your list on the two most important things.
Yep.
I thought that was powerful.
Yeah.
I used to think, all right, like you, get a list, and then if I'm procrastinating because I wasn't really good at this and I'm working at it, I would make a list. I may have gotten 5 things done.
That's right.
And what I used to do were the 3 or 4 of the easiest things.
Me too.
Guilty?
Me too.
Guilty?
Me too.
You know, so
all day long.
it's more important to prioritize the list and accomplish those two important things that you have to do. So remember the 80-20 rule. And then, again, ask yourself what are the 2 most important things you have to do out of your list, and you're going to feel more productive when you accomplish those 2 particular things.
Yeah. I want you to touch on that.
Okay.
How is, now you've mentioned it several times, so I want to point it out right now. How is making lists, being organized, help your emotional health? Because what's happening right now, some of you are tuning out or not paying attention because we're talking about organization and writing things down and all this kind of things. And what you're saying to yourself is, man, I have this emotional wound that needs to be healed and I can't move forward because of A, B, C, and D, not realizing that these principles that we're talking about is a step closer to that healing.
That's right.
To that health. So talk to us about how a list, how organization can help us become emotionally healthy.
Because I think of a marathon. Some tasks are equivalent to that of a marathon. And depending on how you organize it, I think of writing things down as the first step across that starting line. Phase 1. Here's my commitment for tomorrow. Right. And listen, without discipline, this is really going to be a tough process. There's the people who speak. I've heard people say that, well, this person is smarter, this person is more dedicated, things of that nature. Listen, it has to do with discipline and understanding the importance of it, of whatever task you want to complete, what it means to you, and what it's going to mean for you to accomplish those things. And I truly believe writing it down becomes the first phase in that process.
Absolutely.
It's the beginning. The term I'm thinking of is priming the pump. Here's my commitment for tomorrow. Putting it down, go to sleep and rest and attack. And I talked about this weeks ago. When I get up, now I'm thinking about those particular things I wrote down. We prioritize 2 or 3, okay? And we concentrate on, start saying, excuse me, this is what I'm going to do today. And here's when I'm going to do it. This is what I'm going to do today. And here's when I'm going to do it and how I'm going to do it. And now we start living it out. Right? Versus the alternative is, well, I really don't want to do this. Well, if you really don't want to do something, you're not going to write it down.
No.
And if you do write it down, if you really don't want to do it, you're not going to follow through. So I think it's important that this is the beginning phase to priming the pump. Especially it's almost like a new day. Because I think there's something very important in terms of our self-accomplishment. And when we accomplish, you know what? Wow, I can go to bed because I did all those things. There's nothing like going to bed and you're thinking about, what am I going to say? What you did not do.
What you didn't accomplish. I'm a failure.
Yes, it'll build up.
Because those are just small little failures. You're not going to go to bed and say, you know what, I'm a loser, I'm not waking up in the morning. But a series of failures.
You know what I call those? Mini fractures.
Oh, that's good.
We call them mini fractures on just ourself. Like, man, when am I going to do this?
Self-inflicted.
What do I need to do this? God, I should be doing this. I should have done that. Oh, it becomes frustrating because it becomes this weight. And it becomes many fractures because we just strike away at ourselves to saying, well, I tried.
And in a day and age that we have now with the DVRs and everything like that, we can just hit rewind. And it just seems like, I didn't do it yesterday. I didn't do it today.
That's right.
How awful am I? It's self-inflicted. That's so important. No one did it to you. No one did it to you.
That's right.
You know what I do every once in a while? is that when I feel a burden,
Okay.
when I feel kind of heavy,
Okay.
I just sit down and say, what is causing the heaviness?
Okay.
And I just run through an emotional, a mental checklist to find out what is that thing that pricks me. What is that thing that says, oh, that's it. It's like a doctor trying to say, does this hurt? Does this hurt? Does that hurt? And boom, they find that. Once I find that pressure point, I sit down and I say, okay, what can I do about it? Now, I may procrastinate, but I'll come up with a bit of a plan to alleviate the pain, to alleviate the pressure. Too many of us are just getting so used to living with the pressure. And I love your talk about going to sleep at night because what we're trying to do right now.
A lot of people cannot sleep because they worry about the things they have not accomplished.
I get it.
They worry about it.
I get it.
And they don't. And then guess what? There's going to be something else to do today. So whatever you did not accomplish the previous day, get ready. It's going to be there tomorrow.
That's right. We're going to recommend books and things like that. We're going to start recommending some more material for you guys. And that 80-20 rule, there's a great book out there called The 80-20 Principle. It's upstairs. I should have brought it down. But that's a great book. And Sharon, you said even in retirement you need 80-20. Absolutely. 80% of your results in anything you do it comes from 20% of your energy.
Yeah.
And so it's just smart. But what's troubling you? That emotional health right now, what's troubling you? Let's build some lists. Let's make an action plan to move towards conquering that and watch your attitude change.
Yeah, and if you want to build success, don't do a list of 10. Do a list of 5.
Come on.
And then prioritize 2. The ones that will be the most important for you to accomplish. And trust me, once you accomplish those 2 and you set time, you'll find out, oh my God, I got more time to do the other 3.
That's right.
Now you've gained momentum. Now you get some confidence in yourself.
Yes.
About, I can keep doing this.
Yeah.
Because again, the day-to-day, some people get burdened by the day-to-day idea that they got to do one thing after another, after another. Well, guess what? It's true. We're here, we're living, we do things. You're not going to escape it. So why not prioritize what you need to do, right? So let's talk about Murphy's Law.
Oh,
do you remember what Murphy's Law is?
Yeah, if there's anything bad that can happen, it's going to happen.
If anything's going to go wrong, it will go wrong.
Plan on it.
I'm going to change it a little different when it comes to managing our time.
Come on.
And making using our time smarter, right? Working smarter. And that is that tasks will take 2 to 3 times longer to complete than you actually think.
Yeah.
I'll say it again.
Yeah.
Certain tasks will take 2 to 3 times longer to complete than you actually think.
Yep.
So you have to add some more time. You have to take that into account. So if you think something's going to take an hour, add 20 minutes on it.
Yeah.
Just add 20 minutes on it, right? So to 80 minutes, an hour and 20 minutes. Just to keep that in mind. Because a lot of times we get involved in something and we may be dragging about doing it. If it takes a little bit longer than expected, fatigue.
Yeah.
You get tired and possibly frustrated because now something that you thought was going to take an hour actually takes an hour and 20 minutes when the truth of the matter is it was always going to take an hour and 20 minutes.
That's right.
We tried to shorten it. Guess why we try to shorten something for the sake of time? Doesn't it sound better to do something in an hour than an hour and 20 minutes?
It's a nice round number.
Yeah, it's like, I'd rather do something in an hour than an hour and 20 minutes. My mind doesn't think about, let me add on another 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It's okay to add on another 20 minutes, because if you get it done faster, great.
Yep.
But if you add that time on and you get it done in that time, you're like, oh, okay, got it done in that lot of time. It doesn't play with you, especially the longer you've done a particular task. Guess what happens the longer you do a particular task? You get tired over time.
Yep.
So if you think something's going to take shorter and you hit that time slot, you're like, oh, I'm just going to give it up.
Yeah.
Now you quit and you're frustrated. And you're like, oh, I shouldn't have started in the first place. Yeah. So allow allow some additional time to do something. I gave myself some additional time working on a chainsaw. I said, well, let me go out and let me give myself, half an hour, 45 minutes. Yeah, right. I had to give myself an hour and a half because guess what I'm not good at?
Yeah.
That I'm trying to get good at? Picking the right tool. Really, to work with that machine. Because guess what I'm doing? I'm going back and forth to the toolbox to get the right tool. So some unexpected things might happen, or just some things I need to improve my skill set at. I know you might be a person to look at a bolt and say, oh, that's a
5/8.
I don't know, 5/8.
Yep.
Yeah, right. I think it's like a ½ inch, right? And then I can't read it because now I'm reading ½ millimeter. I just get it all mixed up. So it takes more time. Allow for more time.
Yeah.
It'll better suit you, and it mentally prepares you as well.
I heard this statement. I
Okay.
can't quote the author. I
Okay.
think I may be butchering what he says. But, excuse me, he says, we overestimate what we can do in a day, but we underestimate what we can do in a year.
Say it again.
We overestimate what we can do in a day, but we underestimate what we can do in a year. So a whole year we can take our time and accumulate and build and really accomplish something. But it goes right to your point, is that we think in a day, in an hour, we can accomplish this task. And if Murphy's Law hits us, something went wrong, we're just going to quit.
Sure.
And at the end of the day, we didn't accomplish the task. And what I like to do is, I don't necessarily like to put time on tasks.
Okay.
I like to know what the finish is going to be on the task and then build towards that. So sometimes in breaking down a task, you're going to have to say, I'm going to spend an hour here, an hour here.
Sure.
If I'm writing a book. But at the end of the day, I have to say, you know what? This hour is going to result in the completion of this task.
Sure.
And so this is what we got to get in our mind, is what does the task look like completed, not at what that hour will make us feel like.
Okay.
That's real important, because if you're trying to fix a chainsaw and you say, you know what, I only have 45 minutes, I'm going to put my 45 minutes into here, and you get quite a bit done. It's not finished.
That's right.
But you get quite a bit done. You can pat yourself on the back
right.
and
That's
say,
right.
that's great, but don't let that be the end all.
Right.
That 45 minutes, because the chainsaw is not fixed.
Right.
Finish the whole reason why you're doing this. So, I wanted to throw that. I don't know who said that. I didn't say that. But let me just throw.
Maybe we can find it.
Yeah, it's somewhere.
Okay.
It's in one of those.
The next law I want to talk about is Carlson's law. And Carlson's law is a law where we complete a task in one stretch of time.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
We complete a task in one stretch of time. And
Yep.
I'm going to tell you a person who is pretty good at that. That's my wife. When she sets out to do a task, she will do it until that bad boy is done.
Done, complete.
Yeah, is done, and she will stay focused. And when we were first married, I would see this frustration on her when a certain task wasn't done, and I was like, oh, just come back to it. I mean, what's the big deal?
Another day.
But she, you know what? One of the 7 healthy habits by who?
Stephen Covey.
Stephen Covey says
Stephen
to
Covey.
keep the what in mind? The end in mind.
end
My
in
wife
mind.
would start and she would have the end in mind.
Yeah.
She's visual.
Yeah.
Buying a house with my wife is frustrating. And she knows it. She's probably cracking up around. Every house we went into, she would visualize all the changes. I'm like, can't we just buy the house first? I just want to buy the house. Let's not make any changes. Let's just buy the house, enjoy the house, live on this old 25-year-old carpet, and we'll be okay. But not my wife. She has the end in mind all the time. She's awesome. She's taught me a lot. So.
Yeah, she is. I've seen what she's done.
Yeah, done a lot of good work. So, and now, don't get me wrong. We're not trying to make robots out of you, nor me, nor Norbert. But if you can do something in one stretch of time, it's really better than doing it 2 or 3 times, because you end up spending more time having to come back to it, start over.
Yep.
But listen, it has to happen, because if you're doing a big project, obviously you're going to do them in phases.
Yeah.
Right? So phase one may end at a certain section, but
Yep.
the whole project's not done.
Yep.
But that part you wanted to get done
Yeah.
is done.
That's right.
When you're trying to do a floor, you say, you know what, today we're going to do half the room.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then the project's done for that day.
Yep.
Then the next half. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you don't want to take 2 or 3 days just to do half the room.
Yeah.
So that's important to keep that in mind. And the reason why is because there's another concept called mental switching can cause fatigue. So going from one activity
Yes. Yes.
to another, right? If you don't end it when you're working on another activity, you're thinking about that previous task, and that causes mental switching, and it causes fatigue. Because guess what you're gonna think about? Why didn't I finish it? Or how much more time is it gonna take?
Yep.
All that is involved in your planning in terms of time and the organization that's going to be involved.
That's the case for or against multitasking. You know, have you ever been sitting there and an email pops up, a phone call
right.
comes in? I used to think that multitasking was all that, but
I used to
you
hear
know,
that all the time.
Yeah, I'm just not sure about that anymore because I would find 5 or 10 unfinished things sitting on my desk and wondering where the time went.
Well,
So
I'm gonna tell you how a steel rake stopped me from multitasking. So, funny story. We used to live on a property that had about 1.7 acres on it, and I would cut the front lawn and then trim it and then rake it right up in the springtime. You know what do you call that? Thatching. Right? So you're thatching the lawn, getting up the dead grass.
Yep.
And I would lay tools down everywhere, right? So I go to the front, I go to the back. And then I forgot one particular day that I left the steel rake, listen to this, upside down.
ouch.
And I was just kind
That's
of,
like Elmer Fudd.
oh, I got a thud. I was walking and bam, right now. I said, I didn't know what hit me. It hit me right between the eyes, right here. I was the only person home. I thought, who in the world threw a rock and hit me in the head? Because
David and Goliath, baby.
by the time I looked up, the rake was back on the ground. I was like, oh my God, what happened? What happened? And I realized right then and there, I am no longer multitasking. Once I'm done with all my tools, I'm putting them back in the shed. If I got to go back and get them 3 times and go back, I was in so much pain.
I believe it.
So, remove any distractions that you might have, because those type of things will prevent you from working on one set of time. What's out there right now that bothers me the most? Oh, emails. I would rather now finish my day looking at emails the last 10 minutes than looking at emails all throughout the day.
Yeah.
And my job is not so much where I function in a crisis, but I know people might need me to do certain things, but not necessarily that day.
Yep.
And I'm always cautious about running to a crisis anyway, unless I'm in the building. But with that being said, I save my emails for later because it's too much of a distraction. You read an email, what do you want to do?
Act on it.
You want to act on it. You want to respond.
You want to do
right?
something with it.
My wife taught me something on her previous job in Ann Arbor was when she really needed to concentrate on finishing a project. I think she would tell. I remember her telling me she put a sign on the door. I think it might have said "Do not disturb" or something like that. I got one on my door now. Or I will go to a different location in my district where no one can find me. Right, I'll say where I am, but there's no phone to get to me other than my cell phone. But I'm in the building, I'm in the district somewhere because you know what? I want to get this data down, and I don't want any distractions. In the building, very hard to do.
All right, we're going to wrap up now.
Okay.
This is what I'd like for you to do.
Okay.
Is I want you to just sit down and write down 1 or 2 things that you really would like to accomplish. 1 or 2 things, put them down there, just something to get done. We lost the YouTube folks. I don't know why we lost the YouTube folks, so we'll work that out later. But get 1 or 2 things down so that you can accomplish something. It'll make a difference in whatever the task is, it's going to make your life better, but also emotionally.
That's right.
It's going to knock something down. Come on, take us.
Okay,
take
so we
us
got to
on.
ask. We didn't do it. I forgot to do it.
Oh,
hey,
yes.
we have an idea for everybody.
Yep.
Norbert asked me 7 weeks ago, what are we going to call ourselves? What are we going to call our show? We want ideas from you all. Send us an idea. I don't know, something that's snazzy, something that's, what's
Catchy.
the word? Something that's catchy.
Yeah.
That you all have been watching us for 10, 11 segments. Something that maybe a theme that that Norbert and I have together.
Yeah.
Throw it out there. We want to hear all ideas of what we want to call our show. We
Nothing
want to take
crazy.
the ideas from you.
Nothing too crazy.
Well, it can't be crazy. We just may not accept it. I mean, I want to hear everything. I want a good laugh or two. You never know. We may give us the crazy. We may reword it.
That's right.
Let's just take it. Let's not
That's
cut
right.
it off.
Now, there's no royalties.
No royalties.
You get no checks. Unless people send us checks, but that ain't happening, so you get no checks. Listen, I want you, if you're just joining us, rewatch this. Tremendous information Dr. D gave us. Actionable steps to make your life just completely different. We love you. God bless you. Next Tuesday, 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock.
Oh, I'm not going to lean over.